What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Blue Collar Growth Network. I'm your host, Chance Richardson, and today is going to be a great episode. I'm really looking forward to this. I think that y'all will get a lot of value out of this. Today's episode is going to be different than kind of what we've done before. Today, we're joined by Brian Alexander. Brian is a business strategist, leadership coach, entrepreneur, and the founder of Ready, Aim, Climb. He works with leaders and business owners on something a lot of people overlook: self awareness, leadership, and how your personal growth directly affects your business growth. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about pressure, burnout, leadership, identity, scaling the business, and why success without alignment can leave people feeling empty. Brian, welcome to the show.
Yeah, Chance, thanks for having me.
Yep. So, we've kind of crossed paths a couple of times briefly, and I've been able to kind of get into your world a little bit and see what you do. Can you just tell? I mentioned some of it right there, but can you just
Yep.
give a brief background about yourself and let people know what it is that you do?
Yeah. So, Ready Aim Climb is my business. I got into business coaching about 10 years ago, really trying to solve my own problems in my business and just recognizing like, hey, there's a lot of things that are consistent across the board that I can help other business owners solve. So whether it was, playbooks and SOPs, whether it was strategy, whether it was the people component, right? Like having the right people in the right seats, that was kind of the things that I was wrestling with as a business owner, and decided like, hey, I'm going to figure this out. Once I figured it out, I was lucky enough to find a couple of really world-class frameworks to plug and play to help my clients,
Yep.
and I've been doing that ever since.
Yep. What kind of got you into that space? Like, did you always want to be a business owner? Is it something you just kind of fell into?
Yeah, I've always been in sales. Um, I worked at a Fortune 30 company
Mhm.
called CDW, business
Yep.
to business, in my mid, really like, early to mid 20s, all the way till I was about 30 years old. And, climbed the ladder, top 10% in my vertical,
Mhm.
making a ton of money. But it was kind of like you were just a cog in the wheel,
Yep.
right? Like, you were easily replaceable no matter how much you were producing from a sales perspective. And
Mhm.
after a certain point, making money after, 100, 200, 300,000, where you're making it consistently, like money's not the issue anymore. The danger is the golden handcuffs, right?
Yeah.
Of that now you're making a ton of money. A lot of people get stuck because they can't leave the money.
Mhm.
Luckily, I'm not wired like that, and I'm a maverick in the predictive index, and ended up just saying, you know what, I don't want to go into my 40s just miserable with a ton of money. Let me go out there and try to do this on my own. Let me try to start a business, figure it out. I'm young enough to fail, young enough to make a major mistake and still rebound. And I can always go back and make a couple hundred grand in sales. I
Mhm.
already did it once, so why not do it again, right?
Yep. And if you've done it for them, you can do it for yourself. And
That
and
yeah,
probably a lot faster because you've already done it before. So it's like, why not take the bet on yourself and step out and make it happen? So
yeah. A lot of people are terrified of that
mhm.
though, and there's a lot of unknown. Um, but you're absolutely right. I think once you recognize, like, look, I can either make them filthy rich, or I
Yep.
can build something that is sustainable and also something that's going to bless my family for generations to come.
Yep. That was a similar experience with me whenever I decided to go full time in my business. I was doing some digital marketing for and website building for other companies, and then I just got like the perfect government job. Like I could have sat there, retired, just been
Yep.
comfortable, vacations, yearly raises, all that stuff. But I was sitting here staring at a wall, and I was like, I just can't see
Yeah.
myself doing this for another 30 years or so. I got to do something different. And it's been, the best decision of my life. Scary, but,
Yep.
and a lot of challenges early on. What are some of the early challenges that you faced?
Just not knowing, not knowing what to do,
Mhm.
not having the roadmap to follow, not having necessarily the, the unlimited resources and funds to be able to, bankroll all your ideas, right?
Mhm.
In the beginning, you're scrapping, you traded a job where you're making, a couple 300 grand a year, working 40 hours a week, to now making barely anything, working 80 hours a week, right? In the
Yep.
beginning.
Yep.
So those are the early struggles. I think everyone goes through it. But if you have a big enough fire
Mhm.
underneath you, and you're just, if you bet on yourself, you have a fire to do it, you just got to get through that initial stage where most people end up quitting and going back and getting a job, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think I tried a couple of times going out and trying different ventures and stuff, and then eventually that's whenever it paid off for me is whenever I stuck with it through like that 3 years. It took about 3 years for people to really, associate me with what I do and to
Yeah.
be able to build that referral network. But some of those early challenges that you had, how was you able to overcome those and kind of get through those?
I think the biggest thing I did was hire a coach.
Yep.
Like, I recognized early
Yeah.
on, like, I don't have the answers. It's going to cost me a whole lot of money and time to
Mhm.
figure this out. Like, why don't I just go find somebody who knows what to do and pay a
Yep.
little bit, and that was the biggest, leap in, like, wow, now I have a playbook to follow. I could actually condense time down, not pay the dummy tax in mistakes. And it was a big, I would say it was a big change in mindset of like, oh, okay, like having a coach isn't a negative thing. It's actually a way
Mhm.
people get ahead faster. It's not because you're too dumb or you really need the help and everybody else is out there doing it on their own. And you know what I mean? I think that's kind
Yep.
of the stigma. Like, why do I, if I'm good enough, I shouldn't need a coach. It's like, nah, the more you do this, the more you realize like everybody has a coach. I
Yep.
don't care how much money you're making. If you're smart, you got a coach.
Yeah, and a lot of people that are blue collar business owners, they are really good at the skill that they have. Like they're really good at landscaping. They're really good at being an HVAC tech, but it's hard to get them off of the tools and out of the field, and to kind of just relax a little bit and hire people to do those tasks and really become a business owner rather than
Yep.
being someone that implement that's in the field every day and have they need to just be implementing strategy, creating strategy, and creating systems. And I think
Yep.
that's from what I know about you, you're very good at that, teaching people how to become not just business owners, but good leaders and be able to help them build a business that they can step away from.
Yeah, yeah. You can build a nice, home services company with a very minimal crew. You'd be
Mhm.
in, you'd actually be in the weeds with the crew. You can make a ton of money for yourself. But at the end of the day, like the business is only going to grow to the level of leadership
Mhm.
that you're at, right? And you're only going to attract the kind of people that are lower than you in terms of levels of leadership. So the old kind of saying is, A players hire A players,
Mhm.
B players hire C players, right?
Yep.
Because they're afraid of being outgunned and outshone.
Mhm.
And if you really want to build something well, number one, you have to go out there. We say the A players are free.
Yep.
So, if you're putting ads out there at market rate, you're gonna get average. But if you're willing to pay 20% more to kind of create that filter and hire an A player, they're gonna produce 3 to 5 times
Well,
more than the average. And
mhm.
so a lot of it's just a mindset shift. A lot of people just don't know. They're afraid of the unknown. But if you can paint a path for them
Mhm.
that it makes sense for them, and you can kind of handhold them along the way.
Yep.
Once they get it, once they see it, once they get it, then it's off to the races, right? But it's that initial, like, I don't know if I can trust anybody the way I do
Mhm.
it. Like, I feel like all the answers and all the questions got to come from me. And it's almost like a little circle in the middle,
Yep.
and then everybody's coming to the business owner for answers. And that's the bottleneck, right? That's the constraint. We teach people how to
Yep.
just give people ownership. Like, look, they're going to drop your baby. Trust me, they will.
Yep.
But make sure they don't drop it the same way twice. Let's create some playbooks and give them the 20% that's going to get 80% of how you would get it done. And
Mhm.
let's start there and free up, 80% of your time to focus on growing the business and feeding the family, right? That's
Yep.
your employees are your family. Go out there and feed them.
Yep. Yeah, and I got caught in that wheel in the beginning where I would get like I would have sales, like a sales cycle for a while, and then I would have all this work, and then I would try to just fulfill it. And then while I was fulfilling that, then my sales pipeline would dry up. And then whenever I get
Mhm.
close to finishing those projects, it's like, hold on, I got to get some more projects to do, or I'm not going to have nothing to do. But whenever I actually stepped out and was able to hire some people and grow my team, grow my
Yeah.
family, I was able to provide more opportunities for them, and in turn, it provided a lot more opportunities for me to be able to focus on the things that I'm good at. And one of the things that actually helped me was taking your predictive index and kind
Yeah.
of learning a little bit about myself, and I took it a couple of years ago, and it was very accurate. Can you kind of talk about what the predictive index is?
Yeah, so there's, 800 assessments on the
Mhm,
market. So if you Google assessments, 800 show up, but there's only like a small handful that are actually scientifically validated to
mhm,
be used for both like hiring and selection. So it measures motivating drives. And then because we know how you're wired from a drive perspective, we can predict both needs and behaviors,
yep,
almost to like a caricature, comical
mhm,
level. But as a leader, you're one of the most important attributes of a leader is self-awareness.
mhm,
So understanding your strengths, understanding your blind spots, your weaknesses, understanding how other people might perceive you, the things that make you kind of do what you do really well also come with a bag of potential cautions, right?
mhm,
It's that you have both sides of it. And just because you're wired a certain way doesn't give you permission to be the worst version of that.
yep,
Um, so self-awareness is key. You can't lead anybody until you can lead yourself,
mhm,
and you can't really lead yourself until you really know yourself. So you can either stumble, fall, and fail throughout life over the years, reflect, and maybe by the time you're 50 you'll figure it out, or you
mhm,
can condense time again and use some of these assessments to get a really clear understanding of how you're wired and what you best bring to the table. But
yep,
the real magic then becomes like, okay, I'm wired a certain way. I need to build a team that complements what I
mhm,
do. And, you know, like sales, for example, just because you're hiring a salesperson doesn't mean that all sales people are the same. Just because they have resume experience, sales on their resume,
mhm,
like your sales process, the business of your sales role is unique to where you're at, stage, phase, what you have them doing. So people are out there just, interviewing salespeople, but really what we teach them is like, look, if we use an analogy of just call it basketball, you got a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. And
mhm,
they all have unique attributes that allow them to play that position well. But if you take those people off the court and you put the point guard at center, shooting guard at power forward, they're going to still play the game of basketball, right? They're still in
yep,
sales, but now they're going to be just terrible every day. They're going to be ineffective, inefficient. The fans are going to be upset. The coach is going to be upset. A good point guard is never going to be a good center.
mhm,
So getting clear on like what we call the behavioral demands of your sales role or whatever role it is, it works for every role. Um, like what does 80% of the job need? So we get really clear on that. And then if you decide like, hey, we need a point guard, like don't interview centers.
mhm,
Don't train centers to be point guards. Like let's just stop there. You save a ton of time not interviewing the wrong people. You're just focused on getting the right people into the right seats. And that is a game changer for people because people problems are like probably 80% of business problems at
mhm,
the end of the day. Process is another piece of it, but really it's like we're blindly just like rolling the dice, just hoping that we get the next one right without
yep,
using any sort of data. So I have a lot of fun with that because it's amazing. These are they've been around since 1955. There's 400 third-party validity studies. It's like the nerdiest of nerdy things. But the cool thing is it only takes 3 minutes to complete.
yep,
So it's not like this 20, 30-minute survey that you're asking everyone to fill out, but it is spooky accurate. It's like you read that, it's like,
yep.
wow, how did it do that in 3 minutes?
Yeah, yeah, it was and there was one thing like at first I didn't agree with, but then while I was disagreeing with it, it was I don't like criticism, but I was like,
Okay.
I'm mad at it because it's criticizing me. So it was like perfect, perfect spot on. So I was like,
Yeah,
hold on a second.
it's
I don't like that it says that. So yep, it's correct. But
I love
yeah,
that. I'd say 1 out of every 100, the business owner is going to be like, no, that's not me.
yeah.
So we'll say, you know what,
They're in
that's cool.
denial. They don't know about themselves. That's what it is.
Yeah, like go show that to your wife and let her
Yep.
read it and let her tell you, and she'll be like, yeah,
Mhm.
that's you.
Yep. Yeah, I think that it was very accurate with what I saw in the predictive index. I was an artisan, so
Okay.
but
Yep.
a lot of what I was reading, I was like, yep. I mean, everything seemed spot on. So I really, I like taking that because I feel like I'm a data person, and
Hmm.
like with what I do, I look at a lot of data, and I feel like the data will tell you everything that you need to know. So if you
Hmm.
can get a process down like that to where you can see what team members that you need and what strengths that you have and kind of counterbalance and just the team that you want to build. If you know what kind of team and what your values are, then you can build a team around that and around your weaknesses. Do you
100,
go ahead?
not 100%. You nailed it.
Yeah.
That's the commercial, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Because I've even whenever I first started hiring, I would give people a SOP based on what I was doing or how I
Uh-huh.
was doing it. And then I would tell them, like, hey, I hired you for this job. If you see anything that you think that will be, better or faster or that will make this process run better, let me know because you're the expert in this field. I'm hiring you to do this job and I want you to be the most effective that you can be at it. So, um,
That's a smart thing to do. Most people hire people and tell them what to do,
mhm.
uh, and don't give them autonomy to do it in a way that would improve the
Mhm.
processes. So you are, I wouldn't say incredibly rare, but I see the mistake of business owners do the opposite of what you did.
Yep.
Um, so kudos to you for having that awareness to say,
Mhm.
look, the goal here's a starting point, but here's let's just make things better all the time. Like I never make that part of the culture. We're going to improve all the
Yep.
time, you know.
And like obviously there's going to be staples that you want, like the customer service and all that. That's not really negotiable. Like we're going to make sure that that's taken care of. But as far as like the actual process of building a website or building an ad campaign, if they find a better way to do it and they're doing it every day, hey, I'm more than happy because then it just aligns with our values and makes it even a better experience for the customer if we can provide a better service. So that's
Yeah.
that's the end goal.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
what makes a good leader? What are some of the things that you see in a good leader?
Honestly, I work with a ton of business owners, really successful. I see the ugly side of it as well. I think self-awareness is a big part. I think constantly learning,
Hmm.
constantly growing, constantly, um, just seeking new knowledge and how to do things better. That's like, a non-negotiable step number one.
Hmm.
But man, I'll tell you, the best business owners that I work with, clients that are doing 1 million all the way up to 400 million.
Hmm.
The best business owners and CEOs are really humble.
Yep.
There's no bravado. They know that they're in a position of servanthood. Once you become a leader, you're not the boss. You are literally serving all your employees. So
Hmm.
great leaders see it that way. Um, Leaders who have some cultivating yet to do see it as I am the order giver. I'm telling you
Hmm.
guys what to do. You kind of take away um, any kind of autonomy or independence
Hmm.
you coddle people, you solve problems for them, that kind of drives your own ego, like, I'm solving, putting out all the fires. But
Hmm.
great leaders don't do that. Great leaders let their team members wrestle with solving those problems. And I think that's super important. If you don't do that, your people are never going to grow.
Yep. Yeah, I see that a whole lot, like especially in this space, because like I was saying earlier about people who wanted, they want to be on the tools. There's a sense of pride about what they do a lot of times, and it's like, they feel like they want to kind of run everything because it is their business, it is their baby, so they want to pretty much like be the one that's in control. And I think there's a certain extent you have to be in control and you have to kind of lay the framework, but at the end of the day you have to let people do the job that you hired them to do.
You do. And again, they're going to drop your baby plenty of
Yeah.
times, but if you coddle them, you're always going to be the bottleneck.
Hmm.
And you can't scale past a certain point
Yep.
if you build it that way.
Yep. What's some of the biggest habits that you see in leaders?
I think discipline,
Hmm.
as we know, everyone's wired different. So I'm wired in the exact opposite fashion as you.
Yep.
You're an artisan, I'm a maverick.
Hmm.
So my discipline looks different than yours.
Yep.
Just, it's just based on how we're wired. But the overall arching kind of theme is like there's got to be some sort of discipline and self-control, vision. You got to
Hmm.
know where you're going. You got to be able to communicate that clearly to your team. You got to get them bought in. You got to give them a compelling why of like, why do we even do this? Like, why are we waking up every day and going through all the tough days? Like, why do we do this? If we're not
Hmm.
all on the same page about what the big why is for the company, and we're not all aligned with where we're headed, where we're going, that's going to be a rough ride. So I think those are really important things for leaders to get clear on, but also like really get good at articulating it. So, when we meet with some of our top tier clients, we do like 6 full days a
Hmm.
year with in person with their leadership teams. Every time we're with them, they have to go through, here's our core purpose, right? Here's why we exist. Here's our pinnacle. And they're verbally talking through it to their team, their leadership team.
Hmm.
We're talking about core values. Hey, what is this core value? What does it look like in action? Like, what behaviors can we expect? What decision making lens are we going to use? What's the anti value? Like, okay, we have clarity. What the anti value of clarity is confusion, right? So where we see confusion in the workplace, and how do we address that? Right? We know that's the opposite of what we stand for, but why is this showing up so much? How do we create a process around eliminating confusion, or how do we, equip you better to maybe articulate things in a clearer way?
Hmm.
So it's not a set, none of this is set and forget it. Like, it is literally like you have to like ingrain this stuff into the leader. The
Hmm.
leader has to ingrain it into their team has to ingrain it into their people, and it cascades down. So those three things are really kind of like the visionaries main goal, like the main things they need to focus on. The
Yep.
more you can get out of the weeds and focus on that, the easier it gets for everybody.
Yep, I think that's 100% true, and I've seen it, with multiple businesses that I've worked with and my own business. I think the more that I step back and just let people do what they're capable of doing, and not try to micromanage, because I never was a big fan of being micromanaged. Where I, places that I was employed, it's like, if you're going to hire me to do the job, let me do the job, or you can stand here and do the job
Yeah,
instead, which might go back to that criticism thing a little bit. But, I just feel like everyone's an adult. Give them guardrails and just kind of a path, and let them, kind of go down it, and give them support. But like you were saying earlier, not, don't hold their hand through it. Let them learn, let them make the mistakes, and let them grow from those mistakes.
yeah, and so one thing I recognized and realized throughout my life and career and jobs that I've had and all that was like sometimes you learn how to be a great leader by being
Mhm.
led by terrible leaders,
Oh yeah, yep.
because you experience from the other side what not to do or how you would not lead, or how you would not inspire and motivate somebody. So like that experience of being micromanaged probably informed the way you lead people now, because you felt the experience of a bad leader,
Mhm.
and you're like, okay, well, I'm not doing it like that going forward. Even though you're very detailed, you're precise, you could follow and enforce rules, all of that, the way you're wired.
Mhm.
Um, the cultivated version of that is, no, I'm not micromanaging. I'm going to give them autonomy, benefit of the doubt, and I'll come in and coach on the back end. But that bad experience led to you becoming a good leader, right?
Yep.
That's a great thing.
Hmm. Yeah, everything I look back at everything that I've done, and I think this is the same for a lot of people. If they really look back and analyze skills that they've learned, situations that they've been in, I think it all kind of leads you. Even the stuff that I'm going through now, and that
Mhm.
that everyone's going through, it's like leading you up and preparing you for something else. If you continue to grow and just don't give up and decide like I'm not changing, you can look back and see the progression of your life and see
Mhm.
where what has led you to be where you're at today.
I love that. It's like you can only connect the dots looking backwards.
Hmm.
Um, but knowing that and having that clarity, like whatever you're going through now is preparing you exactly for what you need to do next.
Yep.
And I don't know if you're a believer or not, but I think
Yes.
God refines through fire, right?
Yep.
Like it's like, be grateful for the challenges, because God is literally refining
Hmm.
you through fire to prepare you for something bigger,
Yep.
something better, something different. Um, so when you look at it through that lens, and you can be in the moment, and even if it's hard, like you don't build character through easy times, you build
Oh
it
yeah.
through challenges and difficult times. And sometimes that comes in the form of a really difficult conversation you have to have.
Hmm.
Maybe it's somebody you have to let go of, fire them for not living up to the standard.
Hmm.
Could be anything, right? It could be you made a terrible decision in business, and it
Yep.
almost cost you everything. Anything you can imagine. I believe God uses that for good, as long as you're willing to kind
Yep.
of accept that, hey, He's put me through it, but I'm going to come out on the other end better.
Yep. I always say every morning when I get up, like part of my morning stuff that I do is I say, I ask God, I say, um, give me like I want your will to be done in my life, and give me the strength to endure whatever that you're going to put on me. So
That's
it's
beautiful,
like
beautiful.
just I don't want to just like I don't want to tell my employees how to do their job. I'm not going to try to tell God how to do his. Just I'm here. Use me how you want to use me, but let
Yep.
me just give me the strength to be able to do what you need me to do. So
I love that. That's beautiful.
you know, uh,
Amazing.
I know with dealing with people like you do, and I know that you probably run into situations where you run into people who are burnt out. They don't know what to do. I'm sure if you've been a business owner and in sales, so I'm sure that you've faced
Mhm.
that as well. How do you coach people through dealing with that, or how have you dealt with that yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like unwinding the knot, right? They've created this environment of chaos
Hmm.
that they're not quite sure how to unwind, right? So it's helping them kind of unwind the knot. Um, Big thing is just zooming out, like get out of the
Hmm.
weeds for a day or two. Let's just focus on the business. Let's figure
Hmm.
out where are we headed. Like if you're not clear on that, let's get clear on that first. Or maybe it was something a year ago and now it's different, right?
Hmm.
But let's take the time to get out of the business, away from the building, away from the chaos of the day to day, and let's just recenter ourselves. Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Like,
Yep.
what do you want this to look like in 5 years, or even better? Like, how do you think God is using you to steward this business well, right? If we can go a
Hmm.
deeper level, and and once you're able to do that, now you have this clear vision. And then you're like, okay, well, if this is what I think God is calling me to do, or if this is my 5 year vision, like, and maybe there's only a couple ways to get there. So now it takes all of the decision, the paralysis by analysis
Hmm.
out. And because you're out of the business, like things become so clear. It's like, okay, well, we have to hire for this role, or man, I've held on to that person for a year and a half. Writing was on the wall. Red flags are there. It's time to let them go. It's a hard decision to make, and we want to do it with love and grace. But at the same time, sometimes firing that person might be the best thing that ever happened to that person. And we're holding on to them because we're afraid to make a bad decision, or afraid to make an enemy, or whatever the case might be. So, a lot of it is just, let's get out of the business. Like, okay, let's take a break, 2 days off site. Let's figure this out. Like, we're going to unwind the knot. Right. And then we're going to rebuild the plan. And then we just give them like 90 days at a time. Like, look, this is what you're doing for the next 90 days. It's going to align with where you want to be in 5 years. But look, you can do 50 things at once. What's the most important thing we do right now to move this business forward? Usually it's only like 3 things. It's 3 big things, like besides for the normal things that you have to work on in the business, usually 3 big initiatives, or 3 big projects, or 3 big things to move the thing forward. And that kind of clarity is freeing. It's freedom, because now you know what to say no to. It's like, no, exactly. That's not in line. That's not in line. That's not in line. This kind of client, nope, we're not taking that kind of client anymore. And it gives them permission to say no, which is, I think, half the battle.
Yep. I like what, I like all that, but the clients that a business serves, I think that's very important to realize. Like, you can't be everybody, be everything to everyone. You have to kind of get in a lane and just become the best at providing that service or those few services, and don't try to take on everything, and kind of know who your client is and what you can do for them, and just do that over and over and over, and just become the best at it. And that's kind of what I've been focusing on the last year or so. Like, I was a digital marketing company. Now it's like I do lead generation for home service businesses, and I just get into that and study everything I can and learn everything I can about that. And just, that's what my world revolves around, rather than trying to worry about e-commerce and all these other avenues. So just getting good at that one thing and the one client avatar that I serve.
I love that. It's the Jim Collins Good to Great. It's the flywheel, right? The flywheel is like, let's identify your ideal client profile. And then the 5 to 6 things that happen in your best clients. Like, what does that look like? Attract the right client fit, onboard properly, deliver the service with excellence. And it's these 5 things. And if we can just get that flywheel spinning, all we have to do, it's going to pick up momentum. It's going to compound. All we have to do is stop log jams, right? And log jams are, ideal, or clients that don't fit the ideal client profile, or doing too many things outside of your strengths and your offering. And every business has a flywheel. That's the kind of cool thing. Marketing has a flywheel, manufacturing has a flywheel, you name it. Like, you can distill it down to 5 to 6 steps, tells you what to say no to, and then let's go. Let's off to the races, right? Let's just keep focusing on that.
And I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I've had an issue just most of my life with saying the word no, because I always want to, just by nature, I like to help people, and I like to, be there and be like, because I've been in situations before where I needed help and it didn't come. So I always want to be, kind of like that anchor to help people out. But at the same time, it's like, if you're going down in a plane crash, you have to put your oxygen mask on before you can help someone else. And I feel like if you're trying to spread yourself too thin and you're saying yes to everything, then you can't really, you're saying no to things that you really should be saying yes to by default, by missing those opportunities and not being able to say yes to the things that you would be more impactful in.
You nailed it. You've learned a lot more than most people learn quickly. So that's amazing. Strategy is all about what we say no to. That's it.
Yep. Because it just allows you to say yes to more things that better suit you and better suit your vision and where you're trying to go. And you're able to just help people a lot more that way and in a more impactful way. So,
instead of kind of helping a lot of people, you're helping a few less people, but deeply, right? Actually helping people.
Like, we realized in our business that with businesses that are just starting out, like, yeah, we can help them, but we can't help them to the level of someone that's, $1 to $3 million that's trying to scale up and get to 5, 10, somewhere around there. It's
Uh-huh.
a lot easier to, just from what we do, it's easier to work with those companies than it is with a company that's just starting up, because there's so many more, that a company that's more established, they have kind of more systems, and they've been through the marketing and stuff before. So it's just a better fit than someone that's just starting out. But there's plenty of businesses that service those people too. So you just have to know who you fit best with and who you can service the best.
Right.
What are some of the challenges that you see businesses, as far as like when they're trying to scale? What are some of the challenges that you see them having to go through?
It always comes down to everybody has like an operating system.
Mm-hmm.
The operating system you're on is designed precisely to get you the exact results that you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
So when people want to scale, there's the $3 to $5 million kind of valley of death. Then it's like 5 to 10. And then once you're at 10, it's a whole set of different challenges, problems. You need a whole different level of people within the organization. So it's just recognizing that it's a never ending kind of like figuring out where you're at, where the bottlenecks are. Let's get a better system to get us from 5 to 10 million, right? Or whatever that case might be. But also understanding, like, look, at 10 million, chances are you're going to have to tweak things again to get further than that. And it's changing the business owner's mindset. A lot of it comes down to people, though.
Mm-hmm.
Right people, right seats, raising your standard, creating really clear expectations for every seat and every role. Like, what does winning look like? How are you going to look up at a scoreboard every week, every single seat, and look up and say, I won the week or I lost the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
How will the manager know if their team is winning or losing the week on a weekly basis, so they can course correct 52 times throughout the year?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it comes down to just lack of clarity, no clear expectations, no clear accountability, no meeting rhythms, no execution rhythms. It's just like you have to be able to figure out, how do we install these, and then how do we keep them running? It's not rocket science at all. It's actually like really simple, but like turning the Titanic, is not easy at the same time. Or it's like the other analogy is, if you're running a $10 million company, it's like you're driving a NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
How do we, like, while we're going 100 miles, 200 miles per hour, how do we make these changes without blowing the whole thing up? So the formulas and the framework, the business operating system, what I use is the Pinnacle one. Not rocket science principles, but it's really just like, how do we do this without interrupting our growth? How do we hire better people? How do we hold our current team accountable, to a standard? Those are all the things that most people have challenges with, and you could still be decently successful without it. But if you really want to like grow and actually scale, like not just like grow by 20% every year, that's probably going to happen no matter how messy you are. But if you want to double, if you want to triple, it's a non-negotiable. You need a better foundation to build off of.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. If someone reaches out to you and they want your help, want your business's help, from an aerial view, like, what does that look like? What are some of the things that you don't have to give away everything, but just what are some of the things that you come in and that you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I'm looking for if the owner is ready to make a change, positive change. We call it on audition.
Yep.
So, number one, I want them and their leadership team to make sure that I'm the right guide for them, and that my system is going to be the right fit for them. Right. Same time, I'm kind of like, making sure that they're going to be a team that I also want to work with, that I think is going to take action. They're going to follow direction. They're going to get after it, right? Because it's not easy. But I think having that nice fit of Like, I'm not looking to work with everybody. I want to work with really driven entrepreneurs that want that slight edge that's going to help them grow 5x in 5 years, right? Like the really ambitious ones. But also I want them to be humble. I want them to be coachable. All of that, right? In our field, there tend to be a lot of egos.
Yep.
The know-it-alls, right? Like, well, why'd you even hire me if you think you know it all? Like, you don't need me. So there's a lot of just fit testing, right? But beyond that, then it's like, look, let's rock and roll. I'm gonna hold you all accountable. I'm gonna jump in, roll my sleeves up with you all. We're gonna literally set our goals and our rocks, and I'm gonna, I judge my brand promises off of kept promise indicators. It's like, how much are we actually getting done and completing based on what we said we were going to do? Also, like what you said you were going to do, because you're hiring me to hold you accountable as well, right? So we have our kept promise indicator, KPIs, based on our brand promises. That's one of them, right?
Yep. Yeah, I like that. I think, with a lot of business owners, I think a lot of what I run into now is in the home service businesses is you have kind of like the parent, the dad, a lot of times, who started a construction business or HVAC business or something like that, and they've done things a certain way for all these years, and now like the kids, grew up in the business, and now it's getting to a point to where they're getting ready to take over the company and everything, and they have a different kind of view of how things should run. They have a different view of how marketing should be done, how teams should operate. Do you run into like situations like that from time to time, to where you might have one or two people that's on board, and then there might be one or two that's in the business that's not on board?
Yeah, it happens quite a bit. Those are fun, sessions to facilitate. Oftentimes, somebody on the leadership team, when we start working together, when you're casting a big vision, when you're saying we have to do things differently, oftentimes somebody on the leadership team, almost 100% of the time, is going to step down or be removed, because you need everybody aligned, right? Everybody has to be aligned with where we're headed. If they're not, then they don't belong on that leadership team. If they're not willing to come to agreement. One of the biggest things, first thing I do with leadership teams, I spend 2 days with them, and I tell them that, but I also say, like, look, you're not going to agree with every decision, but we're making decisions as a team and we're moving forward. So we're not here to argue. Now, we can have really good conversations around your point, our point, but once we decide as a team, this is what we're doing, we're aligned, we're in lockstep. You can still disagree, but we're not fighting over that, right? This is not what this is about. There's going to be plenty of things that they're going to have to agree with you on that we're going to move forward with, and vice versa. But it's really just setting that expectation. Like, this is the proper code of conduct for a leadership team. Families are a little more difficult, obviously, right? You have a father, son, you have a brother, sister. It's the same thing. You just have to handle it with a little more care. But really, if they're not aligned, then we gotta figure out what you want to do. Are you going to get aligned, or would you like another position within the company?
Yep, exactly. So what are, as far as business owners go, what role do you think that self-development plays in being a business owner, or really just anybody in life in general? Do you think that self-development is something that's important?
Yeah, I mean, to a point, right? I don't think it replaces, a lot of the times I think what we see in our world is like business owners kind of come to self-development and personal development, and it's almost like a religion to them. And then they begin to look down upon people who aren't doing that. And I think everyone's guilty of that. I was guilty of it, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. It doesn't make anybody less of a person. Like, just because you're a shark and you're a killer and you're driven and you want to grow, doesn't make people less valuable because they don't. Now, if you're growing a company and that is your vision and goal, and you are driven and that's the culture, maybe they don't have a seat on the bus. Maybe that's not the bus they need to be on. and maybe they're just happy. Sometimes those people are happier than us because we're so driven and nothing's ever good enough, right? It's like you got to think about that. But if you're trying to build an amazing company, you're trying to do things that have never been done. We call it like a category of one business.
Mm-hmm.
And chances are you need some people who are pretty bought into personal development and learning and growing and never being satisfied to a point, right?
Yep.
It's going to take that to do that. So I think everybody has their option to say, how do I want to build this, or what do I want to build, and what
Mm-hmm.
is it going to take to build that? And I think that'll inform some of that. But as a business owner, I think it's, if you're leading people, unfortunately, guess what? You're gonna have to level up everything you do. You're gonna have to read books. You're gonna have to learn. You're gonna have to go to conferences. You're gonna have to do, all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
because you're only gonna attract people who are at your level of leadership. And if you don't grow, you're gonna be in for a pretty rough ride.
Yep. Yeah, I think and I think at some point it becomes where it's just another form of consumption, and people
Hmm.
don't really like, they'll read, but then they don't put it into action. So like kind of what I've been doing the last couple of years is I'll just take a couple of books and just really break those books down and make sure that I'm implementing it and putting it into practice instead of just reading the book to say, well, I read 12 books this year, or I read, whatever, however many books this week. I want to make sure that I'm actually gaining value out of it. I think that's what we see a lot of times is people just, consume, but they don't put it into action.
Yeah, one book read 12 times a year is better than 12 books. You know
Yep.
what I mean? When fully implemented, or if you
Mm-hmm.
execute on what you've learned, I think that's really important. I call that kind of the addicted to next, kind of
Yep.
just constantly like, I need more, I need more. The next nugget is going to be the thing that changes my
Mm-hmm.
life. It's like every single one of those books says the same things
Yep.
differently. It says it with a little twist. There's probably about 12 concepts out there, that, themes of
Mm-hmm.
books. But you're dead on. I learned that a while ago as well. And it's just like, for us in business, my job is to make things simple for
Mm-hmm.
people. The simpler we can make it, the more we can scale. The
Yep.
more complex it gets. So if you read another book and you're like, well, can we try this? It's kind of like in your marketing, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
can I use this copy instead of yours? It's like, no, this is the recipe to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Or can I use this stock image, or whatever the case might be, right?
Yep.
Um, no, this is the proven process. This is the principle based process that produces results for thousands of businesses like
Mm-hmm.
yours. Like, do you want the results, or do you want to be right? Like,
Yep.
what do you want to do?
Like, I already have a landing page. Well,
It,
this landing page will work better. I guarantee it.
right. Like,
So,
I'm not giving you widgets. I'm
yep.
installing a solution that's
That's
going to
been
produce
tested.
that's going to give you
Yep.
the results that you want.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, some of that comes with, business owners kind of maturity, right?
Mhm.
The more you grow and the more you've been through, the more mature you are. Some people haven't gone through those ups and downs yet, so they might believe that they have the right way. Something, maybe they're right sometimes.
Mhm.
But just like you as a professional, like, you are investing all of your time and energy to be the best at what you do, right? So it's
Yep.
like, let me find customers who appreciate that.
Yep. What role are you seeing with AI? And I've been in AI for like studying it, using it for a while, and I don't know. I don't think that we're gonna have the Terminator scenario anytime soon just by dealing with that. I think the more human input that it's getting, the weaker it's kind of getting. Some of them are getting a lot stronger, but it's like the more that we use them, the more dumbed down it seems to be. What's kind of your thoughts on what you're seeing in your industry and the industries you're working in?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's specific uses for it.
Mhm.
It helps me create like branded deliverables
Mhm.
based on, the input has to be good, right?
Yep.
So, we're taking our 100 Pinnacle tools and we're saying, okay, well, how do I create a branded deliverable for
Mhm.
a client? Once we extract the information we need out of the client's mind, how do we just plug it into AI and create a branded deliverable? So I think it's kind of like, um, you know, outsourcing or anything predictable, we're gonna be able to use technology for, but that's only so we can kind of humanize the exceptional. So instead of me messing around with creating a Canva PDF or something like that, or my uh, VA doing it,
Mhm.
I think a lot of that tedious stuff we can systemize with AI.
Yep.
But really, it's the goal is to humanize the exceptional experience from you to your client, right? Whether
Mhm.
it's delivering above and beyond what anyone could have imagined, or if it's just helping them solve a problem, seeing a problem in a way they never saw before.
Mhm.
I think there's going to be good that comes from it, but you're right, it's not going to like replace everybody and everything. I think there's ways to use it where it makes things better, more effective,
Mhm.
more efficient, but it's never going to replace a human being.
Yep. Yeah, for things like this podcast, for example, like I could put links of the guest and kind of get an overall high level view of what they do and not necessarily have to go through and read every
Yeah,
single line, so it's good for like summaries and stuff like that for sure. And then like you're saying, deliverables. But you I think I'm a big supporter of AI, but I'm a supporter of responsible AI, and just really looking at it as a tool that you can give to your team, and you can make the experience better for clients, for your team, for yourself, and just make everything kind of run a little bit smoother. It's really good at analyzing some data and stuff too, a lot quicker than what we can. And I think sometimes it can provide a different outlook than maybe what you have on the scenario, because it looks at it more from it doesn't really have any kind of goal or any kind
hmm
of, it just it just tells you how things are a lot of times. So I kind of use it as like a souped up Google or something, just, and
yeah.
then to do basic tasks like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things, I think I like what you said, like how can you help your clients make
Hmm.
their client experience better, or how can you, make your own client's experience better? I think when applied to those, probably they're going to be aspects of your flywheel, or
Hmm.
your client's flywheel. I think there's a lot of things that you can do really well with that. I think AI is biased, is in a way, like the more you feed it, the more it like wants to make you happy.
Yep.
So you have to train it to agitate your thought and maybe not seek bias and say, okay, well, how do I look at this from another angle? And
Hmm.
there's value in that as well.
Yep. I agree. We're gonna do, if you're okay with it, we're gonna do a couple of rapid fire questions. You don't have to give like one word answers or anything, but just just some. They're not very in depth questions, but you good with that?
Yeah, I'm a maverick,
Okay.
so
Yep.
I'm perfect.
Yep. What's the best investment that you've ever made?
Um, I think in myself for
Yep.
sure. Coaching programs, entrepreneur groups, just kind of like getting out of the the daily kind of box that I was in, right?
Yep. What's the biggest mistake that you made, and what's one thing that you learned from it?
Oh man, I invested $200,000 with friends for into a nightclub and a lounge. All
Hmm.
the red flags were there. Not great people overall, just kind of seeking validation through people that I looked up to who had what I thought I wanted, which was cars,
Yep.
clothes, girl. I was young.
Hmm.
Um, but I ignored all the red flags and lost all that money. And that was
Hmm.
a 22-year-old Brian Alexander, massive mistake. But
Yep.
God really, I think it brought me closer to God, and
Mhm.
He used that experience, shaped me, molded me. I came out stronger for it, even though it wasn't graceful going through it.
Yep.
And it was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yep. I went through a $20,000 mistake recently and got on the other side of that, so I know what you mean.
Yep, yep,
it it'll take you through some stuff for sure, but
yep.
that at that level, it's even more. What's one leadership trait that every business owner needs?
Again, I mean the simplest one is self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
I think that breeds empathy and compassion and understanding for people. So the more you can learn about yourself and how you're wired, I think it really makes you relate to other people because you recognize that Chance is different than Brian, is different
Mm-hmm.
than Ross, is different than John, and that's a good thing. You don't want everyone wired like you.
Yep, exactly. What's the most overrated business advice that you've ever been given or that you heard?
Overrated business advice. I think any advice that is a tactic that's specific, like do it this way because I did it this way.
Mm-hmm.
All the gurus out there, they built a system because they're wired a certain way and it worked for them. And so then they packaged it, but it really only works for people who are wired like
Like
them,
them.
right? So they're 30%, they're right for 30% of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, business principles, they span all types of wiring and principles are good. But anytime somebody tells you to do it a specific way or do it the way I did it, and they really kind of like hold you to that, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, you're missing the mark for 60% of the people because you don't know how they're wired, right?
Yep.
I know that. Now they don't know that, but
Mm-hmm.
knowing what I know, it's like, yeah, I've seen how that doesn't quite pan out or work. And then you just blame them for not doing it. Well, you didn't follow it closely
Yep.
enough, or you're lazy, or you don't want
Mm-hmm.
it bad enough. It's like, nah, that's not correct.
Yep. Um, what motivates you today?
My family.
Mm-hmm.
My family just I've been given a great opportunity to have been blessed to carve a life that I could homeschool my children. My wife's a full-time stay-at-home mom. So really it's just like stewarding what God has given me and blessed me with well, not blowing it. You know what I mean?
Yep. This might be kind of similar to your last answer, but what's your definition of success for you?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, just yesterday on Facebook, my wife posted, she had a conversation with my youngest daughter,
Mm-hmm.
um, who's 8 years old. And so she posted it on Facebook. She said something along the lines of my youngest daughter, Emma, saying, Mom, I'm really glad you married Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife's like, yeah, me too. And then my youngest said, because he's a good man. And man, that is it right there, right? It's
That's a
like
good legacy.
that is my work is done, but
Yep.
that really is to me success. And of course, like how my children are going to speak about me at my funeral.
Mm-hmm.
I can give them a couple $1 million or I can, be the great father that they're going to speak well of at the funeral, right? Doesn't mean you can't do both, but really that matters more to me than money. You can ruin people with money, but
Mm-hmm.
man, if you really just focus on treating people well, and um, I think that's the greatest measure of success.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a father of two, and now both of them are over 18 now. So
Oh
it's like,
wow.
yeah, being able to kind of see, you know, what you put into them all those years, and then it kind of seeing how they're going to be as adults, and still knowing that they still need guidance and they still need help, but just seeing like all the sacrifice and all the um, instruction and just guidance that you put into them, and seeing like how they make decisions and stuff. It's really been cool to see. And I think that's one of the most. I think being a father, being a husband, it's one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done. So I can
I
definitely relate to that.
I agree.
Yeah. Um, what's next for you? Like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years or so?
I have a 5 year vision for
Mhm.
my life. This season of life is, look, my kids are 11 and 8.
Mhm.
I'm building my business around my family in this season. I
Yep.
know once they're 16, 18, where you're at,
Mhm.
I'm going to be a lot smaller of a portion of their life. But while
Mhm.
I have this, man, I'm not giving it up for anything. My business is very successful. It's healthy. I built it to be very lean. The work I do is deep with clients, so I charge accordingly.
Yep.
And this season is just like, look, let's steward this well. Let's not miss a moment. Let's just pour into your children. Make sure you have no regrets. With what I do with coaching, business coaching, the more gray I have, the better. I'm
Yep.
45 right now, so if I if I hit the gas at 50 till 60, that's great too, right?
Mhm. Yep. I'm right behind you, so I'm gonna be catching up with you soon.
Okay. Yep.
but
Yep.
yep. Just if someone's listening to this and they're overwhelmed and they're not really, they're in their business every day and things just aren't going right for them. I know that can mean a lot of different things, but what's some advice? Just a couple of pieces of advice that you have for them to kind of get back on track.
Find a peer group.
Hmm.
Very minimum. Find other business owners who are in the trenches with you. You can't talk to your wife about business or your kids or even some of your friends who aren't business owners. You could, but like really you need people who can relate to you.
Hmm.
Um, so find a peer group who are doing what you're doing. Just trust that everybody's a mess. You're not the only one who's struggling. Everyone's struggling at different things at different times and different levels. Drop your pride, drop your ego, and the more questions you can ask, the better. Right? Don't
Hmm.
pretend you know it all. Even me, when I go in and I allow coaches to coach me. Um, I don't pretend I know it all. I used to
Hmm.
because I thought it was weakness or I thought it was like I should know all these things. But man, drop the ego, ask questions, solicit help. You'll get through whatever you're going through. It's not as big of a problem as you think it is. There's always a
Hmm.
tool or a solution for whatever you're going through, and somebody's been there and done it. Just find those people.
Yep. Yeah, I always I used to like being the smartest person in the room, but then I realized like, hey, that you're not really getting anything from that. I like being the dumbest one in the room or
Yeah.
the most. I don't like to know what's going on. Whatever we're talking about, I want to be the least informed about it at that
Hmm.
time so that I can learn the most. That's when I've had my best success is being in rooms with people who are where I want to be, and I like helping people and sharing my knowledge too. But I think it's very valuable to surround yourself with people who are higher up and where you want to be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just changes your perspective, right? Like whatever you
Mhm.
think it's not even close to what other people have gone through and know. And it's just like just keep in that kind of mindset of um put yourself in uncomfortable
Situation.
rooms and
Yep.
situations.
Hmm. I agree 100%. It's been nice talking to you. I really
Yeah, you as
appreciate
well.
your time, and I appreciate you coming on. If there's anything like any assessments that people can go take from you, or anything that you would like to share with the listeners, I can drop that down in the comment or down in the description for them to
Yeah.
go check out. And then just let everyone know where they can find you at.
Yep. So I'll give you a link so everybody can take their predictive index assessment and get their
Okay,
5-page
great.
report kit.
Yep.
Um, Start there, right? Just figure out how you're wired. And then you
Mhm.
can find me at just readyaimclimb.com.
Okay.
Super simple. Or just Brian Alexander on Facebook. You probably see me posting fun things. But yeah, Facebook is a great place to find me as well.
Yep. I'm gonna send some of my employees to take that. I'm gonna start
Yeah.
using that. I gotta start using that predictive index for sure because I
Yeah.
think it's gonna help, and I know it'll help everyone listening. So if you're listening, go down into the description and go ahead and take that. Have your employees take it, and you're gonna get a lot of information about yourself. So, but I appreciate it, and anytime that you want to come on, you're more than welcome. So,
That's
thank
amazing. Thank you, Chance.
thank you.